Hello everyone and welcome to my WWE Extreme Rules 2011 pay-per-view review. Wow, that's a mouthful. But other than that, it's a really awesome show. If you haven't watched it, please check it out. Even if you have watched it, check it out again because there's some really good stuff here. So we started off the show with CM Punk versus Randy Orton in their last man standing match. So right off the bat, we're starting off with the big guns. Amazing opener. I haven't seen a good opening like that in a very long time. Another plus is that it started 7 minutes after the show had begun. Whereas, WrestleMania 27 last month started 25-30 minutes before we got to our first match. So that's a big improvement. Time management in WrestleMania 27, just horrible. But they did a good job with this pay-per-view, excuse me. So yeah, Punk versus Orton. Orton once again has a good match in WWE because he is wrestling a guy who knows how to wrestle, and they did go for like 20 minutes, hard-hitting action, outside of the ring, brawlish type of stuff, lots of, I don't really remember any big weapons, there was a few weapons in there, and there was a lot of outside, cringe-worthy moments. That's gotta hurt. Extreme Rules stuff, which is what we want to see when a pay-per-view is called Extreme Rules. And I always find that this pay-per-view always does well. When it was called Backlash, it was still really good, and Extreme Rules as well. But anyway, awesome match. I gave it about 3 3/4 stars. So went for about 20 minutes. Good stuff. Check that one out. And Orton won. I think there was like 2 or 3 RKOs though. It was like Punk was dominating, Orton would dominate because he would do an RKO. But yeah, good stuff. Too bad that Orton won, and I hope that's not because that CM Punk is leaving, because apparently he hasn't signed his new contract, which could be a major problem for the WWE because they seem to be losing a lot of people recently. So yeah, hopefully Punk signs a new contract or comes back very soon if he does leave for a bit. Pulls like a Big Show or Chris Jericho, something like that. Then we had Sheamus versus Kofi Kingston for the US Championship. Now this match, it's not so much the match that bothers me, it's the fact that they gave the US title to Sheamus when Daniel Bryan was doing an amazing job making the title look like it was worth something, but then they gave it to him on Raw, and then they didn't even have a match at WrestleMania 27. They had it in front of the live audience, and apparently only went for like 3 minutes, and then it turned into a battle royale anyway, so it's just, They lost a lot of stuff with that. They could have produced better stuff. I would have rather seen Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston in this matchup, and then have Daniel Bryan lose the title here. That would have been fine. It would have been a better match probably because Daniel Bryan is amazing. But anyway, they didn't. It was still an okay match. It felt like it was like if SmackDown had this match for like 10 minutes, this is kind of what you would get. There was no real big build up towards it. So I give it about 2 3/4, and Kofi Kingston is your new US champion. Funny how Sheamus, was your world champion last year and at the end of 2009 as well, but now he's jobbing out to Kofi Kingston for the US title. Then we had the tag team match of Jack Swagger and Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler and JR. I would like to say that glad that they only wasted a bit of time with this because it was only a 6 to 7 minute match, and they only gave Cole like 2 minutes to talk at the beginning, and he did not talk at the end. Michael Cole did win the match because he did a quick roll up on JR, who was beating the hell out of him. And the fans were going wild for this match. Like, they were just going insane. They just really wanted to see Michael Cole get the crap beat out of him, and he did. He did win the match, which is too bad because that's like 2 pay-per-view wins in a row, and I hope that they're done with Michael Cole now, but apparently they aren't. But at least they're keeping it down to we're giving you like 10 to 15 minutes. That includes the match and the stuff beforehand and the stuff afterwards. And I would like to say that Jack Swagger is awesome. I really wish that they would push him to the top because he's really goofy outside of the ring. Like at the end of the match when they had won, he went up the ramp and he was going like this. It was kind of funny. And then when he's inside the ring, he's not goofy because he knows what he's doing, and he's like this amateur background type guy that knows what the hell he's doing, and he's going to bust out the moves, and he looks like a dominant heel. So yeah, give him a few more title reigns. His title reign last year could have gone a little bit longer, but it didn't. And then we had, Michael Cole won, and I gave it about 1 3/4 stars, which is a lot better than Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole by themselves at WrestleMania. So not really worth a look, but it's kind of cool to say JR beat the hell out of Michael Cole. And then we had Rey Mysterio versus Cody Rhodes in their Falls Count Anywhere match. Now, whenever I hear Falls Count Anywhere, I always kind of cringe because I don't know, they just don't seem that entertaining. Like, if it's something for Raw, it's okay. Like, I would never want to see like a big, huge feud going into that. But in this match, they did do a very good job, and they did impress me. I very much enjoyed this one because they didn't care that they were outside of the ring and, you know, going into the crowd and outside of the stadium. They just kept hitting the high spots, and it was really, really good stuff. Like, the crowd was going insane. They had one point where they were outside of the stadium at the place where the stands where you would get like your hot dogs and your merchandise and that kind of stuff. And there's a bunch of people there. I don't understand this though. It's always packed when they go there, and it seems like, are there always people like buying stuff and not paying attention to like the reason why that they're there? Like, I would be paying attention to the pay-per-view, especially a pay-per-view. Other than maybe like a Divas match, I would maybe skip out. But most of the time, I would just be planted there watching, you know, the show, because I paid a crap load of money to be there. And I would, anyway. So they had a bunch of people there, and they were like chanting holy shit," because of like the stuff that Cody Rhodes had done. He like jumped up to a table and he jumped back and he hit Rey Mysterio with either his knee or his foot, but it looked really, really awesome. And yeah, just high intensity stuff. And then when they got back into the ring, they just busted out a bunch of moves and reversals, and it looked really awesome. So I gave that about 3.5 stars. I would say it's a touch better than the WrestleMania match, just because of the amount of awesome moves that they pulled off, and they really kept me entertained for a False Count Anywhere match. And Rey Mysterio did win, and I don't remember how he won, but it was pretty neat too. So definitely check out the ending. Then we had Michelle McCool versus Layla. They did keep this short. This was about 6 minutes long, and I am actually becoming a fan of Michelle McCool. She really impressed me with Trish Stratus at WrestleMania, even though they wrestled for a few minutes. But she sells really well. She seems to bump really well. Her blonde hair actually works really well when she gets hit, because it kind of just flies everywhere. And I like her ring attire with, like, you know, the kind of color it is, and the crosses. It looks cool. So yeah, I don't have a crush on her. That would be Kelly Kelly. But anyway, yeah, so this match was okay. About 1.25 stars. Michelle McCool did lose, so Layla won. Michelle has to retire. And then they had Awesome Kong, or Karma, coming out, and she has really awesome music. I'm really glad with WWE, because they've been producing a lot of good music lately for the new superstars, or just if somebody gets a new song, it seems to be really good. And she just took Michelle McCool, she powerbombed her, and I would really like to see a feud between those two, because Awesome Kong can actually wrestle, and she looks damn intimidating, and the crowd was really popping for her as well. So yeah, then we had Christian versus Alberto Del Rio. Now this is the main reason why I was watching this pay-per-view, because I was just hoping so hard that Christian would win the title. So we start off the ladder match. You know, this was the reason why you watched Extreme Rules, and this is why the pay-per-view was probably called Extreme Rules, because of the amount of bumps that they took. There was just so many cringeworthy moments where, you know, there was one part where the ladder was placed out between the ring and the announcer's table, and Christian was laid out on it, and then Alberto jumped off, and Christian jumped off as well from the ladder, so Alberto smashed the ladder, and he hit it with his legs, his left leg, and it just looked so painful, and he kind of like flipped off of it, and I was like, oh man, he's injured there. But he wasn't, because he continued the match. That was almost the end of the match though, because right after that point, Christian got up and he was going for the title, and it looked like he was gonna get it, because Ricardo Rodriguez wasn't jumping into the ring and, you know, stopping him or anything. He was staying with Alberto Del Rio, who's like dead on the ground. And then Brodus Clay came out, and then him and Christian brawled for a while, and Christian threw him out, and then he was going to go for it again, but that gave enough time for Alberto to get back into the ring, and then he beat the crap out of Christian. And another thing too is that Alberto just kept going after Christian's arm, his left arm, and he just always went after it, and he did such a good job of making it look like that was the limb that he was going to work off, and make Christian, you know, really pay for it. And Christian is an amazing seller anyway, so he did an amazing job at selling it. At one point he was carrying the ladder and he dropped it because there was just too much strain onto his arm, and then another time he hit the spear at one point, which the crowd went nuts for. Then he was kind of like in pain because he had used his left arm as well there. So yeah, just awesome psychology for that part. And then we had, so Christian was beat up again by Alberto Del Rio, who threw him out, And then it looked like Christian was bleeding, and I was like, oh no, are they gonna have to like stop the match or something, and kind of waste time and get him patched up? But I think it's because Brodus Clay was bleeding, because right after that, Alberto gets up to the top of the ladder. He's about to grab the title, but then Edge shows up and kind of distracts him by honking his horn and showing that he's there, which gives Christian enough time to get back into the ring, push Alberto's ladder off, which makes Alberto fall down to Ricardo Rodriguez and Brodus Clay. And then you see Brodus Clay's like bleeding like mad. And there's like a pool of blood on the ground, and you're like, ooh, man, he got hurt, man. And then Christian goes up and he grabs the title. And it's like, mark out moment of the year for 2011. I think that's my biggest mark out. I was just so happy. I was in my room by myself, and I'm just like, yes, like, he did it. He's the champion, finally, you know? It's not like, you know, is Christian gonna win the title this year? No, he's not gonna win it, but he did. So I'm totally happy with that. Definitely the match of the night, and probably my match of the year. I haven't been watching a lot of things other than WWE, which is really too bad because I've just been too busy. So I'm hoping to get into that. But at the moment, this is like 4 to 4 1/4. It's not like Triple H versus Undertaker where you're either gonna love it or hate it. This match is good. It's you know it's good. And I was so captivated into this match as well. Like I wasn't really looking at how good the match was, but I do know that it was very good. So definitely check that out. If there's one match you're going to watch, check that one out for the entire year of WWE so far. This is the best one. Maybe. I still do like Triple H Undertaker, but I have to watch it again because there's just so many things that kind of didn't go wrong, that didn't go right, so they were wrong. So it's definitely up there, though. Then we had, Christian champ. I can't believe that. This is just going to be awesome. I hope that he has a long title reign, at least until SummerSlam. And then we had Big Show versus Kane. No, Big Show and Kane versus the Corre, which is just a big crowd killer. I don't know why they do that. They did at WrestleMania as well when they had the John Morrison team versus Dolph Ziggler team. And it's like that was 3 minutes. This one was only like 5 minutes long. It just kills the crowd after a big moment like that. I would rather they do like the lower card matches, start off the show, and then you slowly build it up to the main event. So the crowd just increases in the amount of pops that they're doing and how excited they are. I find that translated a lot better onto TV than... and for myself too, because I was kind of like, okay, I'm kind of bored here. Like, I don't really care for this because it wasn't even announced match, and I don't care for the Corre anymore. Nexus I did, but the Corre is not as dominant. So, yeah, fail on that part. Still an okay match. Nothing great though. Nothing even really good. It was just okay for what it was. I'd give it about a 1.5 stars. And Big Show and Kane retained. Okay. Then we had the main event of The Miz versus John Cena versus John Morrison for the WWE Championship in a steel cage match. And I gotta say that this could have been even better than it was because all three superstars were just constantly going at it. There was a few parts where it was kind of like John Morrison could have maybe won instead of doing things, because at one point he kind of like got caught up on the door at the top, and instead of falling down he kind of stayed there. But I was like, okay, well, you know, if I just get crotched, I'm going to kind of be in pain and not thinking about anything other than being in pain. So it gave Miz enough time to come get him, pull him back into the cage. And then there's a part where he went for like the backflip there from the top of the cage onto Miz and Cena. And I was like, you know, that's okay, because it looked like Cena could have gotten up and stopped John Morrison from crawling down to the cage. Whereas instead of trying to go for that, he went out and hit both of them. So that kind of made sense. That was all right with me. But what really kind of killed the match, not a lot, but a little bit, was Ron Killings. So yeah, R-Truth came out and started attacking John Morrison inside the cage. So it does kind of make it interesting, because it looks like they're going to have a feud with that and kind of push R-Truth as a heel. And I am kind of interested in him in a little bit more. I always found that they missed the ball with R-Truth. I would never see him as a main event or world champion, but kind of as an upper card guy that, you know, if they push him correctly in the mid card, he can look like a threat to the upper card guys. So that kind of works for me. So yeah, he beat the hell out of John Morrison, and then The Miz looked like he was going to win, but then John Cena was able to get up and gave him like a top rope FU, which just looked awesome. And then Cena is now your new champion, which is awesome. You know, Miz had a very long reign for a first time winner, and the way that they treated his reign like he could lose at any point, so it's okay with me. So I give that 3 3/4 stars. Awesome pay-per-view, awesome matches throughout the night. You know, the bad ones were kept low. and the good ones were given lots of time. So 8.0 out of 10. Awesome. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Goodbye.